Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw.
And I'm Sean Liang.
And I'm Oscar Moreno.
And Oscar is going to be joining us today to talk about Bridge of Spies, Steven Spielberg's nominated film for the 2016 Oscars. But before we get to that, Oscar and Sean, have you guys been watching anything this week?
Tons of stuff, actually. There's this whole week. There was two movies I had never seen that I really liked and enjoyed. Two 80s movies that I loved the shit out of. Monster Squad and The Hidden. Have you guys watched those?
Monster Squad, the original?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's so great. Like, I mean, not sure if it's great, but it's a lot of fun. And, I think that they were really they were kind of like trying to make like an 80s Spielberg movie, back then when they were still, like, it has like certain touches of E.T. and certain touches of...
Yeah, I felt like kind of Goonies Adventure.
Yeah, exactly. It really feels like that. It's just so much fun, but it's also so well made. Like I understand it was a pretty low budget movie, but the few effects that are in the movie look really good, and it just has this great feeling to it, like a real kiddie adventure, but at the same time, the monsters are cool. They're even a bit scary. I don't know. They don't really make kids movies like that anymore. It's a lot of fun.
I think they're actually remaking Monster Squad.
That wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, I heard it.
Remake?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I think I saw breakdowns for their casting it already. I saw it like last week. So.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I heard. I'm not sure Shane Black is involved in this one. If he is, I really wouldn't mind. But I think there's certain touches of that movie I don't think it can be replicated today, or that even you can do like the equal today. I don't know. I just can't see it.
Yeah.
But it's a fun movie, and I'm glad I saw it. And The Hidden is a pretty cool movie. You have Agent Cooper playing an alien in that one.
Oh yeah, good old Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
You mean the Kwisatz Haderach? That's a Dune reference.
I was gonna say, what?
Have you never?
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
you've seen Dune, right?
I haven't seen Dune.
Oh Lord, David Lynch's Dune, man. Now there's a movie.
Yeah.
That's a special movie. That is a special time.
His first movie.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's a weird one. What about you, Sean? You been watching anything?
I haven't been, other than what we've been watching, other than my friend's movie once I was a Beehive. I haven't seen anything new. I've been filming a lot this week, so that's good. I'll be making my own movies.
Oh, look at you!
But no, yeah, I haven't even been watching much TV lately either. What about you, Chris?
Nah, not really. Just been watching stuff for this month, so it's been kind of, Oscar stuff, and not like Oscar, like Academy Award stuff.
More like Oscar Moreno stuff.
Yeah, I've been watching all the Oscars movies. No, it's just been all the Academy Award nominated stuff. So, and we're going to be talking about that here in like the next couple of weeks. So, don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Right? You don't want to overdo it.
No, you don't, man. You can't rush these kinds of things.
That's right.
It's gotta happen naturally.
No more Russian.
Yeah, no more Russian.
Speaking of Russians.
Yeah, right. Jesus, no more Russians. Let's talk about Bridge of Spies, shall we? Film came out last year, directed by Steven Spielberg, stars Tom Hanks and Mark Rylance, along with Alan Alda. The IMDb synopsis for the film is: during the Cold War, an American lawyer is recruited to defend an arrested Soviet spy in court, and then help the CIA facilitate an exchange for the spy for the Soviet-captured American U-2 spy plane pilot Francis Gary Powers.
Something important has come up.
We've got a Soviet spy. But there's a wrinkle.
They got our spy pilot with a head full of classified information. The Russians want their man back before he cracks. We want you to negotiate the swap.
I'm an insurance lawyer. I'm not sure I want to pick that up.
Are you good at what you do?
This will be a first for the both of us.
You should be careful.
I'm talking to you about the security of your country.
Why aren't we hanging him? He's a spy!
You're asking me to violate the Constitution.
Do you know how people will look at us? The family of a man trying to free a traitor?
Everyone deserves
This film
a defense.
is nominated
Every
for
person matters.
Best Picture, along with a nomination for Mark Rylance for Best Supporting Actor. It is not, however, nominated for Best Director. Oscar and Sean, I'm going to assume neither one of you had seen this film before. What did you think of this film, Oscar?
I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was fun in a weird way. Like the thing about a lot of spy movies is that they can be very dry, and this one wasn't. This one wasn't at all. Like it was very procedural, but at the same time, it was very human, and I think that's thanks to the performances. Both Tom Hanks and Rylance, they have good chemistry together. As attorney and what's the other term you use in English for the person that you're defending?
Yeah, attorney. Yeah,
but
attorney and client.
Attorney and client. Yeah, right. And they have good chemistry together. And at the same time, I don't know, it's just like for me, watching Spielberg work like in his films, they're always like so well made. Like I think, like I'm not saying that flashy filmmaking is bad filmmaking necessarily, but for me, what's so special about Spielberg is that you see him at the point, you see that like the way he blocks shots, the way he follows his character with the camera and all is very subtle. Like it doesn't really call attention to itself, but then you notice it and you realize it's so well done. And there's it's a big deal of craftsmanship on display on the film. And like, he doesn't waste a moment. Like, there's some really cool suspense moments like throughout the film. And that really surprised me. It does run a little bit long, maybe, just a little bit. Like I think that's the problem with a lot of Spielberg movies since Saving Private Ryan, maybe. But it's very well paced. You never really get tired of it, and it really leaves you thinking a little bit. Like, I think it's just a very smart movie, but I think that you could tell that I think has a very littered script. Like I know the Coen brothers came in late to it, but you could tell they really, like, the dial is very razor sharp, I think. The dial is so razor sharp, and the characters are so well drawn, and they stand out, and there's like a little touch of the Coen's humor throughout the movie that you can tell that they definitely, left their mark on the script, and I think that the movie's all the better for it.
Yeah, I agree. That's that's kind of one of the things I didn't mention because I kind of wanted one of you guys to bring it up. Was the Coen brothers had a hand in writing the script, and man, does it come through? It's not like overly Coen brothers, but it does have that wry sense of humor that I associate with a Coen brothers film.
Yeah, I really liked this movie. I was afraid I was not going to like this movie. And I think so far this has been one of my favorites out of all the Oscar noms that we've watched, especially because of Tom Hanks, but also because the tone and the atmosphere that they created and that sense of fear, that nationalist fear, it's something that I seriously relate to right now with what's going on in our country. And I think it, I don't know, I think it strikes the same nerves that we're kind of seeing, or at least me personally, that I see in my life now. And I think that it's an interesting time to watch this movie. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. Like you said, Oscar, it didn't feel as long as it is. It definitely has that Spielberg, like he's everything is planned out. Like everything makes it leads into the next. When we were introduced to Gary Powers, the way they transition and show his face right next to the other prisoner of war. I thought, like those things are very calculated and it helps tell the story in such a beautiful way. Almost a little bit too much, but not enough to make me hate it. I don't know. I really, really overall I liked this movie a lot. I hesitate to say love. I
thought that this is I watched this. This is the second time I watched this movie. I actually watched this movie when my parents were here, and I wasn't too keen on it then. I only watched like the second half of the movie then, so I actually was able to watch the whole movie this go around. It's a really good movie. I think it's a pretty safe movie for Spielberg. I think you guys can agree with me on that. I mean, that's not like a bad thing, and that's not like a condemnation of Spielberg as a movie director. But I mean, it's a pretty safe film for Spielberg to be making in 2016, 2015. Yeah. It's a pretty safe movie for the Academy to be nominating in 2015. It's not like he reinvented the ball, right?
No, totally. I think that he lined things up correctly.
Yeah, and it's Tom Hanks. I mean, Tom Hanks is, one of the greatest actors of our time, and this is a pretty safe Tom Hanks movie on top of everything else. Right? I feel like it's Tom Hanks being Tom Hanks, and that's not a bad thing.
Right. He does it well. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's one of the guys, like, he's always, throughout his whole career, he's been nominated left and right, and I don't really have a problem with it. For some, like, he's one of the actors that I don't mind because he is a great actor. I think I've always admired him as an actor.
Yeah, he's a really great actor, and he brings a level of gravitas to this film that, this movie doesn't exactly have all the big names. I mean, most people would not know who Mark Rylance is before even watching this film.
Right.
And obviously, when you walk out of this movie, you have a better sense of who Mark Rylance is as an actor, and there's a reason he's nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this film. Because I think he's the absolute standout of the film. But, in this day and age where, the topicality of this movie is really great in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
In this day and age of people, block all Muslims and all that kind of the hate mongering and fear mongering that's been going on in this country.
Yeah.
This movie really touches on all of that in a really great way without like being super overt with it.
Sure. I mean, and it glorifies that, that simple theme of being true to what you believe in. And like that the way it does that in sort of a childlike way, it kind of makes it a little, I don't know, it gives you the feels, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a good movie. What did you think of Mark Rylance in the film, Oscar?
He was fantastic. I gotta be honest, I don't think I really knew about him before the film.
Yeah,
but I don't think anybody. I
had not seen The Other Boleyn Girl, which is what he's apparently known for.
Looking at his filmography, he is primarily a stage actor.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you know, he was excellent in this film. But what I like about the movie and the way his performance and both the way Spielberg directed it was that. In the beginning, you kind of get the sense that he's just like this story, because we all seen spy movies, and we always get the sense that certain spies, they're doing their jobs and all, and they keep this very stoic kind of cooperative stance, like to fool you into trusting them. And for me, that was the first impression that I got of him as a character, and he plays it so well. And that's probably what's going on at the beginning of the film, but then you see him, you start to like him, you start to really see his humanity, and you even sympathize with you sympathize with him, and he just plays that really, really well. I don't know. It was a great performance, really.
I think that's the biggest success of this movie, is making a character that theoretically could have been unlikable and making him very likable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're not supposed to sympathize with the communist spy, but that's, he's the humanity of the film.
Oh yeah, 100%.
For me, at least.
I love his stories that he tells them too. I mean, that's what gives us that, that rich character, that, that human journey. I love it. I think he talks about the man who stood. I don't know. I thought that was that those themes that carry out the whole way. And I love that he plays the opposite the whole time. When he constantly asks him, are you worried? And he says, why would it help? I love that. I love that sort of, that goes against instinct. It kind of, I don't know. It's that allure.
We talked about this the last 2 times that we've talked, or three times, I guess, we've been talking about Oscar-nominated movies. And, I think it'll be a damn shame if he doesn't win Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, I don't even know who he's up against. I'm going to see.
Well, he's up against Tom Hardy from The Revenant.
That's right.
And also Sylvester Stallone for Creed, which I think Sylvester Stallone is probably going to walk away with it.
That's right.
Because they're going to try to right the quote-unquote wrongs of Rocky not getting the win back in the day. But Mark Rylance is so great in this movie. What did you guys think of Tom Hanks as the lawyer appointed to defend the communist spy?
It's hard to make any character who's an attorney likable for me. So I liked him. He was great. He's funny and smart, and he's like the perfect dad,
He was good. I would say. I mean, he did a good job in this movie, but he does like the. I'm not gonna say that's Tom Hanks playing Tom Hanks, because I don't think that would be true. But his role in here is to play the everyman. Kind of like playing like the guy who's been between the two governments, and in doing so, he does good. He does a good job, and that's it. Really, it's not an outstanding performance, but I wouldn't say it's a bad one at all. Like, he gets you to like and understand his character and be in his shoes, and I think that's the whole point of his character and the movie itself. It's he's there pretty much as an audience surrogate, and Tom Hanks is so likable and so good of an actor that he just lets you, he has easy seen into the role with no problem, and he does well. But I don't think his character is as complex as Mark Rylance's, for example. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not. It's a very different type of character, and that's okay. It's just that I don't think that Hanks were required to do much, but that's the thing, he makes it seem so effortless, so effortless, and if you're an actor, if you don't know anything about acting, that can be pretty tough, and he just pulls it off, I think. But overall, I just think that the thing is that his character wasn't really as interesting as Rudolph, for example, But that's not really a bad thing, and I don't think that's what they were going for. The whole point was that he was the everyman, and that's it.
I agree. I agree. I feel like it kind of feels like he's kind of pushed around and he kind of just follows directions, even though he does so gracefully and really well. But it does feel, I mean, there's like at the end of the movie, there's like the captions of what happens to these these people in real life. And it says he goes on to free 9,000 people later on. And that he becomes like, he's known as this, this warrior almost. And it's kind of interesting to see that kind of subdued in this movie in a strange kind of indirect way. I don't know.
I think that was calculating by Spielberg. I feel like Spielberg really did a good job of not making the Tom Hanks character of Donovan like someone that it's a character who's been kind of thrust into this situation, right? And because he's just thrust into this situation, he doesn't have to be kind of, it's not like he's doing it because it's the right thing to do, not because he feels one way about it or the other.
Yeah.
But do you think it's kind of like self-contradictory? Because I think the whole point of his character is that he's doing this because he believes himself is the right thing to do. And,
right.
And, I think that's what makes him stand out as a character, because he's in the situation where he could clearly he can be seen as a villain for helping out this guy, or he could be seen also as a villain by the Soviets because he's helping the American government. And I don't know, I just think that, he's sort of like doing the whole reluctant hero thing at the start. But for me, that was because, he believes in this. he's not entirely sure. For him, it's the right thing to do, but it seems like he's not entirely sure of it. But I don't know. That's always interesting in that character, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the kind of one of the big things about the movie, right, is that this is America. Even in America, a spy is entitled to a fair trial. And that's kind of one of the big themes of this movie is, he's not an American citizen, but he's still treated with the same rights and all that. And I think that, Spielberg does a good job of touching on that idea and what it's like to be an American in this country and, care about the laws and uphold the laws. And that's just, it's such a great way to touch on that topic without beating the audience over the head with it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he could have just gone with this really over the top, rah American. And I don't think Spielberg would have done that because, Spielberg, that's not Spielberg's MO. But I think that that's one of the more successful things about this film is the way that Spielberg approaches the Donovan character and how he, interplays with Rudolf Abel and his character played by Mark Rylance is that they're two sides of the same coin in a way that you probably wouldn't expect.
Yeah. I think that it's very much, I mean, I think the movie feels very intentional and there's nothing left unclear. And I think that's a credit to everyone working on it. There's no time that I wasn't sure whether it was Tom Hanks or if it was Donovan's choice or if it was him backing up his government. It's just all of it seemed very clear. And I thought that was, that's hard to do.
Well, so like, what was your favorite scene, guys? Like, what was the scene that most stood out to you both in the film? Like, for me, for me, the standoff sequence was the airplane crash. You know which one I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
with Powers and that.
Yeah,
I found that to kind of stick out in a really weird way.
Yeah, I did too.
Right? I mean, it's good, but it's a little weird in the context of this kind of really reserved film.
Yeah, I would agree that it is, but I don't know. Like for me, I really liked it from a craftsmanship point of view. Like for me, it seems so like there's no music to it. It's just you almost say with the pilot, the whole thing's very suspenseful and scary because I wasn't sure where that would go in the film. I wasn't sure where that twist would go exactly, and I was pretty convinced he could die right there. And I think the movie does a good job convincing you that he could die right in the moment. And it was really well done. Like for me, it was like it's very hard for me to convey like that sort of feeling. I think and. It just felt pretty real. That's what I liked about it. Like for me, that was the experience of seeing on a pilot seat and suddenly getting hit by a missile. Like for me, it just captured that feeling perfectly. Like I was like sort of things that are going through your head and sort of the experience of it being like it's all done without music and without dialogue. And it's I don't know. I just thought it was perfect. It does stand out in the film, but it kind of works as almost as an act break, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So for me, I didn't really mind it stood out. But it's true that most of the film was very reserved in that regard. But at the same time, kind of think, well, what if he couldn't have shown it? I don't know. I just don't think it would have been the same. Like, because I think you're also kind of supposed to be sort of understand the predicament that character, that Powers is also in at that point of the film.
Yeah, and it shows that he makes an effort to sort of, at first, he tries to do the right thing. Or at least what he can't. Yeah, and then he can't. Like, he just can't. So.
As much as it does stick out in the scheme of the film and the way that the film plays, because it's a standout scene in the film with the Powers character being ripped out of the plane, and then it's a really standout scene. It's got a lot of CGI. It's the only part in the film that has this like really overwhelming CGI aspect to it, but it's I think it's an interesting scene. My favorite scene, and it takes place fairly early on in the film, is anything where they're in the court at the beginning of the film, and Tom Hanks is defending Rudolf Abel in the court system at the beginning of the film. I really liked that.
Yeah.
Because it sets the stage for what comes later in the film, and I mean the film takes a while to get going. It really does, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But that's my favorite part of the movie is kind of all the court stuff that takes place between, Tom Hanks and then Dakin Matthews, who plays the judge, who, Tom Hanks more or less has to let him know that what they're doing is probably not in the best interest for the people of the United States.
Right. Yeah, I really liked I agree it was like a slow burn, but I thought the beginning of the movie was full of tension. And this movie kind of made me realize that I'm afraid of our government. Because my favorite scenes were the ones at his home. Because, like, with the drive-by, for example, the drive-by shooting, that is really, to me, that's what I think about in situations like this. And obviously that's a big tension in the movie, is he's put in this position where everyone just hates him for doing his job. And I don't know, I love seeing, I don't know, maybe it's just that whole like him on the train when everyone's looking at him, or on the bus or wherever it was, and everyone's looking at him because they're reading the paper that he's defending this spy. And that sort of tension that the movie creates in those scenes, I love that. I think that really kind of gets under my skin personally.
Yeah, it was, this film is a little hard to talk about because I don't feel like a lot happened in the movie. I mean, it's a good movie, but, kind of with some of the other Oscar-nominated movies, The Martian and The Revenant, it's a little on the bland side.
Yeah.
It doesn't really take any chances, which, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the Academy Awards, I mean, they're not the Academy, they're not doing themselves any favors by nominating a film like this for, Best Picture over a film like, say, Creed or some other films this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not complex at all. It's not hard to understand.
No, it's a pretty straightforward spy thriller that, does a little bit interesting stuff with the story, but it's not breaking any new ground.
Right.
And it's definitely not breaking any new ground for Steven Spielberg and his career either.
That's true. That's very true.
Right? I mean, I sure as hell don't feel like this is, the first great,
Yeah, you're right. This definitely, if I, like, for both of them, I would say if you were to ask me, if I want to watch a good Tom Hanks movie, or if I want to watch a good Spielberg movie, this wouldn't be my first pick on the list for sure. Because of, I guess in movies like that are based on true or inspired by true events, they kind of are trapped into what they are, but I don't know. We still see biopics get nominated every year.
Well, and, yeah. I mean, this verges on biopic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But also, I gotta say, I haven't seen the film since I saw it in the theater, so maybe I remember it wrong, but I remember this bothered me, that at first the movie kind of leaves you the fate of Rudolf uncertain, because he says something that, like when he's brought back at the end, he's brought into the bridge, he says something like, they ask him, well, what do you think is going to happen to you? And he says, well, it depends on how they take me to the car.
Yeah.
If they're smiling, it means I'm okay. If they just take me in, that means I could be in trouble. And, for a while at the end, you're kind of like left with the doubt that, okay, maybe he's screwed. He's screwed after all. And after that, then at the end of the film, like, you get the title card saying that, oh, rule of blah, blah, blah. He was all right after such and such. He reunited with his wife after all. And it's like, well, I kind of ruined it, I think. I mean, like, in a way, I think that I almost wish I had been left uncertain. But at the same time, you kind of have like a true story to follow, and that complicates things a little bit. That it makes it, I don't know, it just felt like a little bit of a cheat at the end. I almost wish that, that.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror. We'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Let's be kind of more straightforward in that regard, because it almost feels like a cheat at the end. Like, oh, he's all right. And he said it with a title card. And like, I almost think I wish I had seen that instead of like being told that, for the title card. I don't know.
Because he's such an important character.
Yeah, it kind of bothered me in the end, honestly.
Yeah, I guess that did sort of feel unresolved a little bit. I definitely feel you.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the end of the movie really does just kind of, it just kind of wraps up a little too tidily, even for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the title of the film, obviously Bridge of Spies, the end of the film takes place on this, the eponymous bridge where they trade the spies. But you're right. The end of the movie and kind of the resolve of kind of everything, it's a little disappointing.
Yeah, all we get really, the biggest resolution we get is when Tom Hanks comes home and he's reunited with his family, and there's that, they see that on the news what happened, like the truth comes out. That's the biggest resolve for me, but that's not the biggest resolve that we need from the movie. I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, we definitely want to see what happens to Abel,
Yeah. And I just, again, I think that this film is just really a safe movie. And that's not a knock at the film. That's just Steven Spielberg has not been making really out there films. Yeah. I mean, Bridge of Spies, Lincoln, War Horse, Munich. I mean, Jesus, man. Mm-hmm. Like, those are all historical biopics. And, Adventures of Tintin notwithstanding.
Well, I would disagree. For example, for me, first of all, I think that the most complex thing he has done since Schindler's List probably has been Munich. Like, I think for a film that pretty much is a spy thriller as well, that movie in particular, has some pretty complex things about terrorism, revenge. I don't know. For me, that's his most complex film he's made. But it's true that he hasn't really done anything like that since. Like, it's not really common for him to do that. It's not really his MO since. It's very rare we get a Spielberg film like that. And I will agree that Bridge of Spies is not really. It's not really a complex film. I think it almost is. Like, it rushes with that a little bit, but ultimately, it plays it safe. But that's not really a bad thing. But it does kind of leave it a little bit. It doesn't make it stand out as much as it could. I think that's kind of the problem.
No, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it is a safe, somewhat lackluster Oscar film. I mean, it's good, not great. It's kind of middle of the road, right? I mean, it's, when you go see a Steven Spielberg movie like this one, you kind of know what you're getting at this point, right? I mean, I'm not surprised that it's a biopic that has a little bit of the family themes that Spielberg loves to touch upon any chance he gets. It's not surprising. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the end of the day, I do want more from my movies than what I've gotten from Steven Spielberg the last 5 times I've watched a movie from him.
Yeah, especially when he's given us some of the most exciting movies that I know of. You know what I mean? Like, we know what he's capable of,
Well, I mean, you have a film like Amistad that, is making kind of a statement about race. You have a film like Munich, which, like Oscar said, makes some statements about terrorism and revenge. You have a film like Schindler's List, which you don't even have to talk about what that movie's talking about. It should be pretty obvious if you've seen the film or know what Schindler's List the title is in reference to. And you have this film that it almost goes there, but it doesn't. Mm-hmm. It's a little reserved in the message that it's trying to give.
I've heard, and I don't know what you guys think, I kind of am curious to hear, I've heard that Spielberg has he's gone soft. Especially, I heard, and the reason I heard this was because I watched this whole I guess documentary. It was more like just a recap of the latest Indiana Jones movie, and they were talking about how he seemed like an older, just seemed like an old dad. He's kind of lost his edge a little bit. But what do you think?
I mean, a film like this, it definitely feels like he's lost his edge.
I mean, I feel like Spielberg himself is.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the twilight of his career. I don't know how many more movies he has in him.
Right, which is just an old dude. Like, he's reaching that point,
Oh, he's 69, I mean, I don't know kind of how many more films he has in him, and I don't know if he's really in the point now where he's going to be taking the chances that he might have 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
I guess I'm not surprised that this movie feels like a heartwarming American family sort of ending, because that's kind of what he is.
I won't say he's completely lost his edge. Again, I bring up the examples of Munich, and even the other film we had that year, War of the Worlds, which again, it's not really a good film, but man, it's pretty brutal for a PG-13 popcorn movie. It's pretty harsh as far as that movie of that kind goes.
Yeah.
I think, but even then, for example, I'm noticing like in some of the most brutal popcorn stuff he's done since probably Temple of Doom. I think Temple of Doom is a good benchmark for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He tends to screw up a little bit in the landing. Like, for example, I think the other example I can think of is The Lost World, which I can appreciate. I think it's an entertaining movie to watch, and sort of like the brutality of it, it's almost appealing. But I think that there's, with both World or Worlds and The Lost World, there's this thing, there are things around the movie that don't really make it work. But for me, like, you see those movies and you don't think that Spielberg has gone soft. Like, those movies are pretty brutal as far as the violence goes. But there are things around the movie that don't make it work. And I think it's probably this deal with Spielberg needing everything else in the movie to work properly before fully committing to the violence or to the darkness of the stories. And I think that the closest he has gone to that is Munich. But since then, I just don't think he's been really interested in doing that again, because you look at the movies he's done since, Indiana Jones, War Horse Lincoln, and now Bridge of Spies, and also Tintin. Like, I don't think he really, that's him. I don't really think that's him. But if you also look back on his career overall, I really don't think that he's that interested in making that kind of movie over and over again. Like, like he says that, for example, the reason why he made Indiana Jones 4 was because he wanted people to give him something sweet after having to swallow the bitter herbs he made them swallow in Munich. Those are his words, more or less. So overall, I just don't think he's really interested in that kind of movie. I think that definitely has softened up a little bit. But at the same time, I think he's capable of making a strong, kind of like violent film. But just because he does that doesn't mean he will deliver a good film. Like, I think that there are certain things that he kind of struggles to come together in his movies since probably Saving Private Ryan. Like, everything has to work, and sometimes he focuses too much on the balance, or he doesn't focus enough on that. But I don't think it really lessens his films. I just think he has trouble like making it all come together in a strong way as he used to.
Totally. I think, don't get me wrong, I think, in my opinion, there's a reason he's known as one of the great American filmmakers, and I think it's that regardless of the edge or how successful his movies are, he always has, at least in my opinion, this tone. He's able to establish this tone that feels so nostalgic and so familiar and so much about what I know because of where I live, I guess. But it feels like he's in all of his movies. There's that sense of familiarity that I really have always loved. And like, it's just like, you're watching a Spielberg movie when you watch some of the, like, I mean, I keep thinking of like the Goonies. Like, there's just such a, there's just such a tone that you can feel in it that it is specific to him. It's his style. I don't know. It's hard, I guess it's hard to articulate, but it's very, if you know what I mean, like what it feels like to watch a Spielberg movie.
Well, and, I think Oscar's right. It's Steven Spielberg. We said he might have lost his touch, and I'm not sure he's lost his touch. I think that it's just, I think he doesn't want to make those kinds of movies anymore, like the kind he had been making, or like Munich or like Lost World. I don't think those were inside of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like, for example, he keeps talking about how Lost World wasn't really a good experience for him. Like, he felt he was making like an empty monster movie. And I don't know, I think that since then, he kind of realized that, maybe that's not me. Maybe that's just not what I'm interested in. And hence why we've been getting the kinds of movies he makes now ever since.
Yeah, and I don't think Bridge of Spies is a bad movie by any account. I just think Bridge of Spies is a very safe. There's not a whole lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of hard to sit here and even talk about it. I mean, because it's just there's not a lot to it to talk about. I mean, it's a middle of the road, pretty good film that it's not surprising that it was nominated for an Oscar. I mean, I don't think anyone's sitting here like, oh wow, this is nominated for an Oscar. I honestly don't think if anyone else had made this movie, it would have been nominated for an Oscar.
No, that's true. But I mean, because Spielberg he wasn't nominated for director for this one, was he?
No, he wasn't. It's just nominated for Best Picture. But I don't think it would have been nominated for Best Picture if Steven Spielberg hadn't been involved.
No, that's true. But again, I think he kind of elevates the material almost.
Well, I mean, just name alone elevates the material, right?
True. But again, I think his skills, like filmmaking skills, are just great. like we talk about how he plays it safe, and again, it's true. Like overall, on a message level, on a story choice level, I think he plays it safe, maybe. But in terms of filmmaking, you can see his skill. Like he really outclasses a lot of filmmakers at just simply making movies. I think that like a lot of directors are very focused on like being either too flashy or too safe, and Spielberg kind of like makes it like he starts is making like some very cool flashy stuff, but making it digestible and fit into the story. Like for me, another moment I love in the film was the very opening, when they're following Rudolf around. I thought that was so well made. Like the mixture of handheld camera work and also more steadier shots. Like does the camera play like I think that's when you have like a true master on display. Like he makes it seem very effortless, and it's not. It's like it's all very carefully planned. He's like he's something that's Spielberg,
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think we in this day and age, some of us have taken kind of for granted how good of a director Spielberg is, right? Mm-hmm. And how effortlessly he is, behind the camera, and his direction is. And, sitting here and being like, oh, the movie's pretty safe, at the same time, another director might have done this movie horribly if given the chance. Sure. They might not have had the tact and the craft that Spielberg had when it came to making a movie like this. Yeah, and exactly. I think Spielberg has the right amount of tact to make a film like this, and he did a good job. He did a good job with the source material, and I think that it's a good film. I don't think it's a great film. I don't think it's a standout of his career.
No, it won't be.
No, right? I mean, end of the day, Spielberg has way better movies and way better historical films. I mean, I think Lincoln is a pretty good movie. I don't think it's one of the best movies ever made, but I think Lincoln it holds a place for better of Spielberg's career. And it has a much more captivating performance in Daniel Day-Lewis than Lincoln.
True. Although I will say that I think this is the most like both enjoyable and both well-made film he's had in a while. Probably I don't know, like probably since I mean this is the thing, because I can't say Munich, because Munich, again, it has its fans on one of them. I think it's a great movie, but also like first of all, the movie didn't do great at the box office. I mean, I don't think like a lot of people know about it, or they would be kind of bored by it almost. It's not really, again, that's not an easy film, but
it's a brutal movie. It's a brutal movie. So I'm trying to think, well, and before that he has The Terminal, which was,
it's a fun, cute movie, but it doesn't really have a lot. I feel amazing since Catch Me If You Can or Minority Report, like this is the most enjoyable, straightforward film he's had. Like I know Tintin has his fans, but I really wasn't into that movie that much. And it's not a bad movie, but I think this movie has like the right combination of craftsmanship and entertainment value that I don't think he's had in a long time. Like I think it's a pretty accessible film, accessible, well-made film that I don't think he's made in a long time. Probably since not either Catch Me If You Can or Minority Report.
I always felt like Tintin was Spielberg atoning for the sins that he made with Indiana Jones.
Almost, yeah. That's like an Indiana Jones movie. It's a better Indiana Jones movie than the fourth one. Like,
yeah,
it's not a bad.
That's what it always felt like to me.
It's not a bad film. I don't know. It just didn't stand out for me like it did for a lot of people. I don't know. It's not a bad film at all. It's very good, and the animation's great. There's a lot of cool things about the movie, but I don't know. It just didn't do much for me.
Yeah, kind of in the grand scheme of things, I kind of wish Spielberg had, I don't know, they maybe had been taking a little bit more chances recently, but I think you're right. I think this is his most consistent film that he's had in a while.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I mean to say. That this is that not only consistent but also accessible and entertained to like a wide audience. Like I know it didn't really break any box office records, but for me, like I saw it in a packed theater and nobody was bored. Like you had like a pretty broad audience in it, and everyone was into the film. And that's it's rare for a film with this topic. He made it accessible and something he made it entertaining. And for example, I like Lincoln a lot. But I could see that movie. I could see that movie wasn't really. I'm not saying Richard Spy was dumbed down, because it's not. But Lincoln definitely wasn't really. I don't think it was accessible to anyone who's not really interested in him.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, Lincoln was pretty dry as a film. But I think it had more to say than this film did. But again, it not being very accessible, it doesn't really matter.
True.
For the broad audience.
Yeah, true.
Definitely.
So.
Also, I like to say that, for example, this movie, I don't think, like, I'm not saying it will suck on repeat viewings, because I doubt it. Like, if somebody told me, hey, let's watch Bridge of Spies, I would be up for it. But personally, I'm not that excited to revisit it again. It's a film that I can see myself maybe catching on TV like sometime, but like right now I don't feel like any impulse to buy it or to own it, or to see it again. Like, for me, it's just sort of there, like, okay, I watched it, it was really good, but I don't think I will visit it again.
Yeah, I don't think it'll go down in repeat viewings. I just don't. I think you're right. I don't think it's one of those movies where I'm like sitting here like I gotta, I'm really, itching to rewatch it.
Yeah.
So and that's not a bad thing. It's just, hey, that's the way it goes. Yeah, that's the way it goes. So.
I think that what will happen is that in the future that people, they will go for Spielberg's filmography and find this one, and they were like, oh my god, this actually was kind of a hit and got nominated for awards and stuff. Like, that's why haven't I heard of it? Why have I heard of Jurassic Park but not of this? It's sort of like that. Like, I think that some Spielberg movies, like maybe Empire of the Sun, and I'm trying to think of another one. Maybe an Amistad, it will be like one of those Spielberg movies that are kind of like hidden. Like, despite all the attention it's getting now today, it will be kind of forgotten. But after that, like, people will be discovering it. But I don't think it will go down in history as so many of his other films have.
No, I completely agree. So I think it's a good, but I don't think it's like, oh man, I want to tell everyone I know to watch this movie.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. Well, Oscar, skip it or watch it in best performance.
Definitely watch it. I have no complaints about that. I just, at least watch it once. Definitely. And best performance, well, Mark Rylance.
I mean, there's a reason he's nominated for best supporting
actor.
That's
true. That's definitely true.
Again,
this wasn't like by accident.
It wasn't like by chance.
Yeah.
Very layered, complex performance, and a surprisingly fun character as well.
What about you, Sean?
I think, I really like this movie. I personally think watch it, especially right now. I think you should watch it this year before it gets, because I think it really does a great job capturing the sense of fear that I get when I look at like the GOP, or if I look at like the presidential campaigns. So, and just what's going on in our country, I think it's a good time to watch this movie. So I recommend watch it. It's a good movie. And then I was really excited to see Amy Ryan, and I really loved the family dynamic scenes, like I said. So I of course, I love Tom Hanks and I loved Mark Rylance, but I if I'm looking for someone else, I thought that she was a great balance for Donovan, and it gave us we really wanted him to take care of that. So I really liked her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it's a watch. It's a soft watch. I mean, there are better Spielberg movies out there. Obviously, this is not going to go down as his crowning achievement in cinema. But I think it's a good movie. And for best performance, Mark Rylance, obviously, he's a total standout in this movie. Yeah. Again, having had no exposure to him, because obviously he does stage work. I think he's kind of a revelation for a lot of people who had never had any experience with him. What do you guys think the film has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Ooh, that's tough because I haven't heard much about it. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with 86%, something like that.
I'm gonna say like 74%.
Rotten Tomatoes has it at 91%. Whoa. Bridge of Spies finds new life in Hollywood's classic Cold War espionage thriller formula thanks to reliably outstanding work from Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. Yeah, I mean, they're not wrong.
That makes sense.
Although, at the same time, like, new life, I don't know, because for me, like, the spy movie is a pretty flexible genre, I think. Like, you have some pretty dynamic, cool stuff, like the Bond movies, or you can have some very grounded, dry stuff, and good as well, like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. So I don't know what.
Or even the Americans.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of like
show.
the Cold War. Yeah.
Great show, by the way. It's so yeah, it's kind of I don't know. It's a weird thing to say in the consensus, but at the same time, they're not entirely wrong.
I don't know how I feel about the whole New Life thing. I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, yeah. If anything, I would say that a show like The Americans is stronger in that regard. It's that. By the way, that should be. Well, we'll get into it later at the end. But I think it's a show I'm gonna plug at the end because it's like the 4th season. I think it's almost here.
And it's gotten nothing but rave reviews everywhere that I've seen anything about it. So
yeah, have you seen it, Chris?
I haven't.
You should we'll get to it at the end. But yeah, it's a great show.
So this is kind of something we've been doing every week since we've been talking about Oscar films. Oscar, what do you think the chances are of this film winning Best Picture? And also, what do you think the chances are of this film winning Best Supporting Actor for Mark Rylance?
Best Picture, I doubt it very much. I think that the Academy will go with a safe choice, but not a choice as safe as this one. Mm-hmm. It's I really don't see it winning Best Picture because again, their films have gotten more acclaim than this one and have stood out in a stronger way than this one. So I just don't see it winning Best Picture. I think I almost see something like Spotlight, which I haven't seen yet, winning over it because it's less of a safe film, but at the same time it's not Fury Road, it's not a big sci-fi action film like Fury Road would be. And yeah, I don't know. As for Best Supporting Actor, I trying to remember who else were the other actors that are nominated this year.
Well, you got Sylvester Stallone, Tom Hardy, Mark Ruffalo, Christian Bale.
No, definitely for Best Supporting Actor, I think Mark Rylance would definitely get it in that case. I can totally see him get it. But again, I haven't really seen most of the other films, but Mark Rylance for this one, yeah, definitely, I can see it.
Yeah, what do you think, Sean?
I don't, honestly, I just don't see it winning either, to be honest. Unfortunately, it just gets out, I don't know. I haven't heard much about this movie at all. And it's been out for a while. I think it's getting out-talked by these other pictures. And now, that being said, this has been I liked this a lot more than I did The Revenant and The Martian even. Surprisingly, because those movies there's a lot going on, But, I don't see it. I don't. It's just kind of. It blends in so well that it's almost. I almost would say that it was a little bit forgettable.
No, it is. It definitely is. Yeah, I agree with that. I can get behind it feeling a little forgettable.
Yeah, I would love to see Mark Rylance walk away with that one, though. That would be great. And I could see him standing up against his competition because he's really great.
Yeah.
I would like to see him win, but this movie, I obviously don't think that this movie is going to win Best Picture. Yeah. And I really don't think this movie, should have been nominated for Best Picture. I think it's good, not great. But stranger things have happened, I guess, for Best Picture.
Yeah, but I really don't see this one. I think that the Academy will play it safe, but not too safe. But at the same time, they won't go something like Fury Road won't win. I don't think so.
Yeah. But I hope Mark Rylance wins because he was good. So I mean, there's that. I think Mark Rylance has a good shot at winning. Do I think they'll give it to Sylvester Stallone instead? Yeah. Probably. But I think Mark Rylance has a good chance at winning. So, well, before I talk about next Monday's Kulturecast Oscar, is there anything you want to plug?
Yes, The Americans. Again, if you want a story that's also fixed in the Cold War, that's more complex, and again, because that's a cool thing about television now, that you get a chance to develop characters over a long period of time and be presented sort of all the complex situations they can get in. The Americans is a great show for that. And I'm trying to see when the next season's coming out. I mean, while you're trying to waiting for the next season, you can catch up with the other, how many have there been? 3 seasons on DVD. I'm not sure if they have it on Netflix or on...
It's on FX now.
Okay, yeah, you can find it on FX now, or I think it's on Hulu, right?
I think so, yeah.
Well, wherever you can, just watch it. And The next season is premiering on March 16th. And again, if you like cool, complex stories about the Cold War, this is the show to watch. It can be even brutal at times, but it's compelling and extremely well made. I think it's definitely way up there with the best that TV has to offer right now.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. It's kind of underwatched, I think, but and I think that they want to go for one more season after this one, and then it's going to be over. But we'll see, and they definitely catch up to it. It's a great drama.
What about you, Sean?
Nothing new today. I'll just say as usual, you can follow me on Facebook or on Twitter, Sean Liang, and you can also follow me on Facebook. I'm Sean Liang.
Hold on. You can follow me on Twitter at Kulturestash, and check out cultureshock.com for some written movie reviews. We also have some talk about video games and wrestling. If you like the Kulturecast, we are on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. And any positive feedback you could give us would be great. It helps us move up the rankings and maybe dethrone some of those other big movie podcasts out there. Next Monday, we're going to be talking about The Big Short. One of the other Oscar-nominated films. We're going to be joined by a good friend of mine, Mr. Tim Burns, to talk about The Big Short. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about Spotlight. Big thanks to you, Oscar, for sitting down and talking with us about Bridge of Spies.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I know it wasn't the most exciting film to talk about, but it's a good.
It's good. At least we didn't have a lot to hate on, you know?
Yeah, at least it wasn't like our talk about the revenue. And make sure to check out next week's Kulturecast.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.